So my fiance and I quit London over 2 years ago now to move into a van, and so we live nomadically now. I'm generally working with people who they're very committed to having a significant positive impact on the world. So I'm also doing some work with Cambridge alumni, looking at kind of burnout, stress. I'm a member of the Revamp Buddhist order, hence the interesting name. It sounds like a Disney princess name, which I quite like. A lot of my work is like human chess. And what I was learning actually is that if you want to help people, you've got to involve them in the process. The theme throughout all of my career changes has been I'm not really living my life. So I'd never thought I could run my own business, ever. Never crossed my mind I could do that, even though I'd grown other people's businesses. What I noticed particularly with women is despite having so many skills and being so capable, when we do something that's kind of us up front, it feels really different and it feels much more vulnerable.
You know, it's kind of, you work in corporate, you help other people build their businesses, and then suddenly you've got to promote yourself. And you're like, oh, hang on, where's the IT department? Where's the legal department? You know, what about marketing? What about graphic design? And then you're like, oh God, it's me. Good morning and welcome to the Midlife Revamp Diaries. And today I'm talking to Aryanisha Lawes, who is a public speaking and leadership coach. Hello, Aryanisha.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming. How are you doing?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, really, really good. I was just saying, I actually quite enjoy the change in seasons just before the weather gets like really grim. So I'm sort of liking this kind of summer, autumnal thing going on.
Tell us,
where
are you? Where are you?
Yeah,
The autumn's kicking in.
I'm currently in the Forest of Dean. So my fiance and I quit London over 2 years ago now. Oh my gosh, almost 2.5 years ago now to move into a van that he's been converting. And so we live nomadically now. But over this spring, summer, autumn, we've got a base in the Forest of Dean at a really lovely campsite. So yeah, I'm off grid. I'm coming to you via Starlink internet and I'm powered by the sun, which is wild, isn't it? So we're literally
Wow,
not
that's
plugged in at all.
fabulous.
Yeah.
And I complain about my internet.
Yeah. Well, Starlink's really good. It's much better than being in London, to be honest. My internet in London used to be really flaky, but when you've got a direct satellite link, it's good.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you do now? Because I know you've had a previous life to this, but tell us a bit about what you do now.
Gosh, I feel like I've had multiple previous lives. Sometimes I've called myself the queen of the sideways move. You know, I feel like I've just like there's been multiple like reincarnations of my career. So currently, and it feels like this is the thing that I'm doing now for a while. I'm a public speaking and leadership coach. Everyone's got to have a little thing. But what that means practically is particularly on the public speaking side, I'm generally working with people who they're very committed to having a significant positive impact on the world. And there's something that's getting in the way of them being more visible and being more authentic as leaders. It might be that they've had some past difficulties in a previous role, or something's coming out as they're going up the ladder that is causing some degree of fear. So I'm working with them on that. And yeah, there's various things I do around leadership. I'm really interested in like growing leaders from the inside out. So it's not just about like the thinking and the strategy and all of that, but how do you actually become this like really robust kind of unflappable human? It's kind of centered in yourself. Yeah. I hate the word resilience.
Sounds fabulous. We all want to be unflappable.
I know. Because you get that feeling, don't you, just being like knocked about by the winds of like life and things going on. It's like, how do you just like really stay in yourself? And that's going on. Yeah. And then, like a lot of coaches, like there's kind of your USP online, and then there's the other things that you pick up along the way. So I'm also doing some work with Cambridge alumni, looking at kind of burnout, stress, kind of defining success on their own terms. And yeah, and then all around all that, I'm a member of the Triratna Buddhist order, hence the interesting name. And yeah, I was ordained 3.5 years ago now, actually. And so I also do things like within my community for that. So in a couple of weeks, I'm off to Portugal. I've got a little bit of time helping the community over in Lisbon. So yeah, around the coaching work, I'm
so
doing various things with that.
That's great. So tell me, just going backtracking a little bit there, the name, the Buddhist name. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that? Because it's such a cool name.
Yeah, it is. It's really lovely. Someone who was like really quite cynical about the whole thing, even he said once, it sounds like a Disney princess name, which I quite like. I think that's quite sweet for someone who was not really into it. No, I really, really love my name. Someone who was really cynical about Buddhism, not so much about Buddhism. Anyway, someone who wasn't like kind of particularly keen on it once said it sounds like a Disney princess name in a very nice way. So I'll take that. So it
I think
means
a Disney princess name is fabulous.
I know, great. And now that I'm also like living in a forest most of the time, I sort of like the idea of sort of like wafting around, talking to like trees and birds, which I do quite a bit. So I feel like I'm embodying it a little bit more. Um, so yeah, we get within my order, you get given either a Pali or Sanskrit names, they're old Indian languages. And so we've got an international Buddhist order. So we wanted something that could, it works whether or not you're in like Spain or Mexico or Australia or India or England, wherever you're based. So mine means she whose dream is of the noble ones being um, like enlightened beings. Um, yeah, and it
Nice.
points to both. I have like really vivid dreams, so I sort of quite like it's sort of like a little bit of an in joke for me and my friends because I'll often tell people like, I've just had a really big dream. Do you want to hear it? And they're like, yeah, sure. Um, but also for me, I feel it's really relevant to coaching actually, because I think, I think one of my main roles as a coach, and I think your main job as a leader for like whoever, whenever you're in a role where you're helping people to grow, I think one of the most important things you can do is just like hold people's potential with as much love as possible when they can't even see it themselves. Um, so yeah, I think that's a lot of my job as a coach actually. It's just kind of even when my clients are like really doubting themselves or feel really stuck or they don't think they've got the solution, is just to be like, no, 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 you've got this. You've really, really got this. And um, yeah, I think it just gives a lot of confidence actually. So yeah, it feels really relevant to my work now.
And going back again to what you mentioned about the Cambridge alumni,
Yeah.
tell us a bit about that because you were at Cambridge, weren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was the first student for my school to go, like really not from the sort of family that like that was a usual thing. I was sort of first generation to get into university as well. And it was just really wild going, to be honest, like like brilliant, like I'm really grateful to have gone, like it completely changed me as a person, gave me a lot of confidence. And it can be a very, very stressful environment, and students can, like, it means like everyone seems to have a Cambridge story even if you haven't gone, and people have particular perceptions of what it means to go there. And so then when you're there, it's can be very stressful, the workload's very heavy, it's like highly competitive, not necessarily in like a bad way all the time. It's not like everyone's like being mean to each other, but like like big names like Darwin went and Stephen Hawking. So you sort of like you have this pressure if you go to like achieve a huge amount. You feel like you're kind of wasting your potential if you're, not doing all this amazing stuff. And a lot of people like leave like still feeling like that and used to working these very tight deadlines, like there's like 8-week terms and stuff. So it's just quite full on. So then people like the way that people have got used to succeeding is very intense, and then they take that out into their adult life. And if you don't change it, what you see is like cycles of burnout, and also people creating. Oh, it's very relevant to actually your stuff. It's like you end up living a life that's not your own, where you're kind of pursuing a very traditional idea of success that actually just makes you quite miserable if you're not careful. And I didn't do any work with alumni for a while because, well, partly like people can have a really weird response to you going. Like people can assume that, like, and I've had this directly where people assume you like you're up yourself, or like it's like you can actually get quite a lot of abuse from going actually, which is quite you have to learn to sort of
Gosh,
hold a bit. Yeah, like not more from not everyone, but more from like my sort of some people in my family, bigger family, not immediate family. Um, People just, yeah, I think if you're from more of a working class background, it's just very challenging for people that you've done something very different. It sort of challenges their whole narrative that of why their lives are like they are. Because yeah, you've kind of broken out of it. So I think that's partly where it comes from actually, is it just can feel quite threatening. Um, yeah. So I didn't do anything for alumni for a while because I just wasn't sure how it'd get perceived. And then I started doing a little bit with students. I've done some more recently with alumni over maybe the last 6 months. And I've just seen people really transform with it from being so stressed and quite broken at times and finally finding ease in themselves. And so that's just been so rewarding. I'm just, oh, I just need to do more of that because people don't feel like they can speak up and say they're stressed because they feel like, people will have it worse than them or they should be happy, like their life looks good on paper, but they're not happy. And again, a lot of similar themes with like my other clients, I'm sure, people in this community, there's something that happens around the Cambridge label that can make it a bit harder for people to talk about, I think. And
To
yeah,
admit they're
just because they,
struggling.
yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I guess it's like people with any kind of shared experience, it's just helpful to open up to other people who get it. So I'm sort of been exploring that a little bit more. But yeah, loads of that is just relevant for, people who are like high achievers and I hate the word imposter syndrome, but you know what I mean, all that kind of am I good enough to be here stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk us through again. You finished Cambridge and you went on to
Yeah.
work with a lot of non-profits.
I've worked a little bit. So my last role was in a non-for-profit, but I've
Right.
mainly worked in kind of different areas of social and environmental change. The first work I did after university was probably for the first 4 or 5 years was more around sustainability in companies. So I was working for with international businesses as a consultant for a number of years in ethical supply chains. So how do you stop, human rights risks in factories in other countries? How do you stop, um, massive environmental damage, that sort of thing? But with this kind of really global perspective, so I'd often be working with teams to kind of assess the risk across kind of global operations and then help them decide like a course of action to actually start addressing those, which obviously can be quite overwhelming. So it's massive. And then, yeah, put training in place and help them with policies and monitoring, evaluation, that sort of thing. So I've worked at this kind of big, kind of like global scale.
And
I've worked
how did
for,
you feel about that? What did you like about that?
uh, God, what did I love about that? Like a lot, sounds really funny, but like a lot of my work is like human chess. So it's like you've got this big vision and big goal about where you want to get to. And then you just have to be very gradual in how you move all those pieces forward with a lot of emotional intelligence and ethics. Because obviously people aren't literally chess pieces and like pawns. You actually have to work out what actually will motivate everyone to move forward. And I just really like geeking out about that. Like, like why isn't the project working? Oh, okay, because that one person over there isn't on board. Okay, how do you actually get them on board instead of being like you're the problem? Because like that's not going to work. Um, so I love this sort of like this kind of relationship between the sort of like very personal dynamics with people and like big global scale. Because if you can unlock something here, it could have this massive ripple effect. So yeah, I loved sort of working in that kind of mix of like strategy and people stuff. Yeah.
And what didn't you like? What
Oh,
made you
what did I
decide
like?
to make a change?
Yeah, I mean, with that stuff, I mean, that was one of the first changes I did coming out of corporate. That was about 9 years ago now. I just wasn't connected enough to the people I was trying to help. Like it was just too top down. And what I was learning actually is that if you want to help people, you've got to involve them in the process. So then, like the work I then moved into, and that was my last work before becoming a coach, was much more kind of community based. So it was more like tackling an issue by working with people affected by it, directly helping them and then learning from those projects and then feeding them up into like policymakers and businesses and things like that. So yeah, I kind of went from this like just work globally very top down with no connection to being like really embedded in like the lives of people that you're trying to support. Uh, yeah, different approaches, I guess, to influencing change. But yeah, I was like, I was writing reports on how to help women in Bangladesh working in clothing factories, but I was never going to meet any of them. I was like, I don't even know if this is going to be helpful. Like,
So what was your catalyst to make you think, you know what, I'm going to change. I'm going to be a coach.
yeah.
I'm going to live in a van. I'm going
Oh
to
gosh,
do
yeah.
all these
This one, I was
things.
like, oh my gosh, there's been so many. I mean, interestingly, the one from corporate into doing other stuff. So I'd like go around in my big I had this like really nice blue coat from Reese, then my winter coat, and I had these like really nice like black leather boots from Jones. I'd sort of like go and do all my like power meetings, sort of. I don't know why I'm doing this, but you know what I mean. If people have been in those roles, you know what I mean. Like you've got your clothes on. And actually, there's a song called "Artificial Me" by Martha Tilston, which is all about working in an office and not feeling yourself. And she talks about like running across the table singing "No, no, you won't have me." She's this like lovely folk singer who I actually talk to now. So go listen to that song. That changed my life. And I have actually told her, I was like, I've left my job after listening to this song. She looked so shocked. She was like, "Were you okay?" I was like, "Yeah." It's the best decision of my life. So that was part of
That's
it,
a
which is
great story. I
I
love
know it's
that.
funny, isn't it? Like these songs that like finally really speak to you, like, oh, I'm not living my yeah, I guess that's the feeling of the theme throughout all of my career changes has been I'm not really living my life. Yeah, I'm not really living my life. And so, yeah, the most recent one, so yeah, I left my old job two and a bit years ago and then freelanced a little bit with them. And a few, gosh, I'm trying to think, there was just like a number of different things because I don't know anyone who lives this life as like an ordained Buddhist, as a coach, working with quite, people in like sort of quite significant positions of power. Because sometimes people will also do van life, but they're like really low key, like living very, very like completely like alternative lifestyles. So I'm like in a way quite mainstream with my work, ordained within this sort of funny international Buddhist order, which is amazing, but also has all of its own dynamics. Um, yeah, so it was almost like I had to sort of like cherry pick things. And one of my friends had become a coach, so I'd never thought I could run my own business ever. It never crossed my mind I could do that, even though I'd grown other people's businesses, fundraised for my team, did loads of business development. I never thought, oh, I could actually do this for me. So seeing a friend go through that process and become like a successful coach was really helpful because you've got to see that path forward. I was then also just getting burnt out with my old job. Like there was a lot of stuff that was actually just really hard. Like a lot of my clients were just in like crisis all the time. So I was working with people in poverty and there was a lot of mental health stuff going on, a lot of safeguarding stuff. It was heavy, like sort of basically doing humanitarian work through COVID. So I was just emotionally completely run down from that. And just, it felt worthy, but I wasn't happy. And then when I got back from my ordination retreat, 2 and a bit years ago, I ran a weekend retreat within my Buddhist community. And I just remember feeling like, oh, I love this. I feel completely on fire. And it felt so different in my body to how showing up to work did. And then I gave this presentation at a board meeting for work. And our CEO afterwards, who I still love her, Asheen, she came up, I think a couple of days later, she was like, "Oh, you just didn't seem happy." Like I thought I seemed happy. There must have been something a bit strained in the way I was responding to questions. I was quite risk averse at that point, I think, because I was just so stressed. And we started talking then about like, did I want a slightly different role in the organization and stuff? And then it sort of started to unfold from there, really. I also just wanted to give away all my things. That's part of the whole van move, was I just wanted to get rid of all my stuff. So it's sort of,
Decluttering.
yeah, it's just really interesting, isn't it? Because yeah, it's kind of a number of different things started to come together. And then I've got this really great tarot card set called The Wild Unknown, and I just like using it as a self-coaching tool. And I just started to do like a tarot card reading every single day. And then it sort of came out of there, really. And I still feel like what I'm doing is evolving. I'm still trying to work out where's the stuff that I do my best work, which clients do I most enjoy working with. I sort of quite like to seeing how the universe sort of responds when you put something out. Yeah.
So how do you feel now? If you can compare Aryanisha from before and to now, how would you say your life's
God.
changed? How have you changed?
Oh, God, I didn't realize. I feel quite moved actually, you asked me that. I'm just so much happier. Like, even though this has been really hard, like setting up my own business, like for anyone else watching this who's done it, like it's hard. Because despite what I noticed particularly with women is despite having so many skills and being so capable, when we do something for that's kind of us up front, it feels really different and it feels much more vulnerable. So actually being visible, promoting myself, all of that just was like I can feel it in my belly, like it just makes me want to squirm. So it's like you're having to get
Yeah,
over
I
all this.
totally get you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It
It's like oh,
and
every
it
day
is
you're
that
putting out
having to wear
posts.
so many hats, isn't it? It's kind of you
Really?
work in corporate, you help other people build their businesses, and then suddenly you've got to promote yourself. And you're like, oh, hang on, where's the IT department? Where's the
Yeah,
legal
yeah,
department? What about marketing? What about graphic design? And
yeah,
then you're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh God, it's me.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
me. I've got to do everything.
yeah, yeah. And actually, interestingly, because I was working for a smaller organization last time, I was used to having to wear lots of hats. So, but again, it was just like I just had this self-doubt come up that like it was mad. Like, I like fundraised hundreds of thousands of pounds. I'd won like massive contracts with global businesses in my previous work. But then when it came to like me putting myself out there and saying this is how I help, like I just wanted to crawl in a hole. And then having to do the opposite of that every single day. So despite feeling really small and lacking confidence in yourself, the way you've got to then be is like confident, because otherwise no one's going to work with you. So you've got this whole weird thing going on. So,
It's
but I
that
just,
whole practicing what you preach, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And just, oh gosh, it was so hard. But like I think, why is it? So I love a lot about my lifestyle. I love the freedom. Yeah, I just do the work that I want to do. Like I'm absolutely like selfish about it. Like I just do the things that I know really light me up because that's also where I do my best work and it makes it easier to attract clients into. Because that's that whole kind of like people coming together when you're just excited about stuff that they're excited about. But also like, I really love the person I've become in the process. And I've done intensive personal growth. Like that's, training for ordination, being a Buddhist for like 13 years, like it's basically just a massive personal growth process in a lot of ways. There's other aspects to it, but a lot of it is, you're working on yourself, overcoming your fears and becoming more courageous in your communication, really keeping to your values, all of that. So I've been in lots of situations where there's like an intensity to me growing me. And I feel like this has been absolute rocket fuel for that. And it's like, I love the clients that I help. I love the work, the life I've created. But more than anything, I love this version of me, and no one can take that away from me. Um, and that I feel is just so liberating. Because yeah, when you get through the hard and you start getting the work and and working with people you really want to, it's just so good.
And just
Um,
looking back,
yeah.
hindsight, wonderful thing. Is there anything you would do differently?
Yeah. What did I do differently? Um, I couldn't stay working full time doing the job I was doing. I couldn't take it part time. And I had really good conversations with the leaders in the organization I was in about it, like, good communication. I think it would have been helpful and less stressful for me if actually I'd taken on some short-term contracts. In the meantime, like I had savings and stuff. It's sort of okay, but I think yeah, I think it would have been less stressful in my nervous system if I just had a little bit more like reliable income coming in for that first bit. Because I think I would have been able to relax a little bit more into it. There would have been a bit less pressure on me making everything work. At a point where I hadn't realized I was going to have this massive self-confidence dip. And there was some other stuff going on in my personal life too as well. So I just lost quite a bit of confidence actually. So yeah, I think it is really helpful to have a proper look at the finances and just making your life a bit easier. Having said that, because I didn't have another option, like because I wasn't doing any other work, like I've had to find a way to make this work. So it sort of swings and roundabouts, really. Like I don't know if I'd have made so much progress if I hadn't had to. But yeah, I think in hindsight, that's probably I would do differently.
I think there's a tendency when, especially midlife women, when we think about making a career change, it's that kind of all or nothing thing. We
Yeah.
think that we've suddenly got to stop one thing and move totally to another thing. And there's a lot to be said for that sort of more gentle transition and,
Yeah.
and keeping the salary going for a little bit longer while you get on your feet with a new project.
Yeah. 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 Especially because as I said, I didn't realize there was this kind of almost like a skills and confidence blindness that so many women, as I say, so many women in particular, I mean, it might happen for guys, I don't know, just haven't talked to them, but all of the women I've talked to when they've set up their own business, it doesn't matter how senior they were, how successful they've been, how much money they've been earning. So many of us have this dip where doing the self promotion feels so icky and we didn't realize it. that it would feel that awful at the beginning. So yeah, I think just just help your nervous system out, help your nervous system out by just making sure you've got what you need.
Any words of wisdom for anyone else out there, possibly in a similar situation that's thinking, yeah, I'm a bit fed up with my job. I'd love to leave.
Yeah,
You know what I want to do or how to do it.
yeah. If you don't try, like a bit of you dies inside, and don't underestimate the impact that they'll have on your health and the rest of your life. Like I think we think that we can just cut these bits off and it not have an impact, but it does. So you've basically got the choice of like trying something that feels scary, which is hard, or another kind of hard, which is cutting, like you've got to cut this bit off. That's the only way it will go away is you literally have to like cut it off and suppress it, and it will come out. If you start getting ill, if you feel you've got really low energy, if you start getting snappy with your partner, if you start like sabotaging things at work, there's this whole step up or step out thing I think that can happen where people start getting resentful of other people who are doing the things they want. It will come out some way or another in your body or your relationships. Um, and like, so you're going to have to do something at some point. And oh, sorry, that was a massive bug that just came in. So it's one of the things if you live outside, shocking things happen, like massive daddy long legs. So yeah, like yeah, or you might just find like the only way that you can cut it off, like unconsciously, is to like be doom scrolling at night, or keep yourself, because if you find that you never allow yourself to have time on your own, well, maybe it's because you're avoiding the fact that you're not living your life. And there's nothing sadder, there's nothing sadder or more tragic, I think, than people who were just too scared to try and actually be who they're meant to be. And if you can get through that, like what you actually have is like so many people like us who are trying to and are making it happen. Like there's so much support out there. In a way, there's no excuse these days, yeah, because you've got access to the internet, whether you want to make a career change, set up your own business, retrain, whatever it is. There's so many young people out there. And I find women in particular are so supportive. You've just got to be willing to kind of let people help you. And do what you need to move forward. But yeah, gosh, like who do you want to be? Like, I know it starts getting a bit, well, not morbid, but I think this is we've got to consider this. It's like, who do you want to be on your deathbed? Like, do you want to be this person who's like is now dying with regret, or at least know you're the person who tried? And I want to be in that camp. I want to be in the person who tried camp.
That's fabulous. That's really fabulous advice. I often say life's too short, because that's kind of what took me on my path was life's too short to be unhappy at work or stuck in a place that don't like or you're not in love with or whatever. So
yeah it is.
Life is too short.
It's so short.
Great. Now, if people would like to have a chat with you about what you do or reach out or say hi, what is the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so particularly if anyone wants to talk around like things around like visibility, like the sort of overcoming your public speaking fears, whatever it is that you're doing around that. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's one of the places you can get me. I'm on there every day. I was trying to do loads of different platforms. I'm sort of on Facebook and sort of on Instagram, but you can always find me on LinkedIn. We've also got my email address, and I've come up with like a little confident on camera bundle as well that's got a storytelling script. There's a meditation practice, and there's also a checklist, which is really body based, actually making sure that you're feeling like really good when you get on camera, whether you're like recording content or running a Zoom call, any situation where you're getting on camera, either live or recorded. If you want to feel really, really good when you show up, so that your audience feels really, really good too, and they're on board with whatever it is that you're talking about. I've come up with a whole little bundle, so you can get access to that as well. I could always send you the link to that if that helps, Lara.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's been so interesting to talking to you, and good luck with everything you do in the future.
Yeah, thanks so much, love.
Take care. Bye-bye.